Our correspondent Anas Malik, who is now joining us from Kabul. Anas, what can you tell us about the on-ground situation in Kabul as of now?
At this point of time, at least 3 U.S. soldiers are said to have been injured. I can confirm that there was a huge blast. Eyewitnesses are now telling me that it was a suicide blast, followed by intense gunfire. It is still unclear who fired on who. It is unclear, but what eyewitnesses are telling me, as I said, I'm still on the way to the location where it took place. I was just there yesterday at the Abbey Gate. We have been reporting from almost all of the 7 gates of the Kabul International Airport's military side, and I was just there at the Abbey Gate just yesterday. And the Afghan report as well, where the Taliban has been guarding the place. Now there are reports that are coming in. At least 15 people are injured, which can be corroborated through the images that are coming out. Just behind me are there ambulances which are rushing off. If you can probably hear, there are ambulances that are rushing towards the location because the amount of damage that could possibly be inflicted towards Abbey Gate is still unknown. Eyewitnesses tell me that there was a very loud explosion, possibly a suicide attack. They're claiming it to be a suicide attack. Officials on ground are yet to put out the word, but at this point of time, Kabul city is bearing a deserted look after this explosion, but roads leading to the airport are clogged. They are jammed. They are packed with people who would want to reach out to their loved ones, and they are packed with ambulances like these. That's the one in front of me, and that's right behind me. Probably you can hear that as well. These are ambulances that are rushing towards the airport, towards the Abbey Gate of the Kabul Airport's military site. The Abbey Gate is being guarded solely by the U.S. It is not being guarded by any other NATO countries. It is known as the entrance to the U.S. side of the U.S. station of the military side of the Kabul airport. So therefore, it is very unclear what is with regards to the casualties, because yesterday when I was there were genuinely thousands, scores of people, thousands and thousands of people who are there waiting to just go inside and get to safety. Priyanka?
Anas, we're also getting some new information that the Turkish Defense Ministry says that there were 2 explosions, in fact, outside the Kabul airport. No damage to Turkish units, however. What can you tell us about this?
Well, as we speak, it is still unclear about the second explosion. We've seen that when an explosion happens in Kabul, I've been here reporting for the past 31 days now, and we've seen when an explosion happens, it is followed by small explosions.
Let's now go across to Susan in New York. Susan, we just got some information from our correspondent in Kabul that up to 3 U.S. troops have been injured in the Kabul blast, and that the Turkish Defense Ministry is saying that there were 2 explosions, as a matter of fact, outside the airport. What is the U.S. Pentagon expected to say in its briefing shortly from now?
We'll have to wait and see, and we'll have to wait to see and identify those 2 individuals to see the nationalities, first of all, and second of all, on the one hand, you have this terror attack, this suicide attack. On the other hand, you have this timeline that the Biden administration has been so adamant on sticking to, and it's sort of you would think that the Pentagon would right now be very adamant in trying to get its troops and its citizens out of the country as soon as possible. But then, the portrayal that this will have really on the international community as to how this was really a warning that if there were discussions between the Taliban and the United States, or between allied forces and the Taliban in some sort of way, that there might have been some sort of extension of the August 31st deadline. Perhaps this incident might have, in a way, put an end to it. But we'll have to wait and see what the Pentagon says. It's yet to be seen whether or not the 10:30 press briefing will happen. That's in about 7 minutes. Perhaps it'll be pushed back because of this latest incident. But it's very important to hear from U.S. officials on how they're going to react to this, considering the fact that they really warned that ISIS-K was in Afghanistan was in Kabul. The United Nations warned about it. The United Nations Secretary General in its terrorist report warned about it. The Security Council in its meeting a week ago warned about it. And yet we still see this attack happen, despite the fact that U.S. forces are still on the ground there. A striking development indeed.
Right, Susan, stay with us. We'll go again to our correspondent Anas Malik from Kabul. Anas, tell us a little bit about the situation near the airport as of now. Do we know if Afghans are still gathering at the airport to flee? And of course, this development comes at a time when the pace of evacuation has slowed down. Several European countries are already planning to end their evacuation efforts. Tell us more.
Well, yes, the roads leading to the airport is clogged. It's jam-packed with traffic, with people who were possibly trying to reach to their loved ones, with ambulances, and people are desperate to get to the airport. And there have been reports of a second explosion said by the Turkish ministry, but it has still not been verified by sources on ground. We've seen the pattern that when a large explosion takes place, it is followed by immediate intermittent gunfire and smaller explosions. Those are said to be from detonations that are done by the military personnel present in order to prevent another or thwart a second major attack. But it is still unclear with regards to this second explosion. So, as we speak, I am very near to the Kabul airport. Approximately 4 kilometers from where I am is the Kabul airport, but the roads are clogged. They're jam-packed. There's bumper-to-bumper traffic with private cars and ambulances. Priyanka.
Right, Anna, stay with us. We'll actually get your inputs in a few moments from now. Joining us now on this broadcast is an Afghan Parliament member, Nabiullah Baz. Mr. Baz, thank you so much for joining us on WION. What can you tell us about this latest development, an explosion that took place, in fact, 2 explosions that reportedly took place near the Kabul airport?
Thank you so much for having me. Truly, it's devastating, something like this happening in Afghanistan right now in such critical time. Obviously, we're all very worried about it. So it's not a good start to begin with. But as we know, we were given a heads up that something like this might happen. Even from the United States, they were giving us reports that there is a high threat of bomb explosions, and even the Taliban said the same thing. But they kind of, right now, the situation in Kabul right now, around the airport right now, it's very devastating. It's truly saddening. And at the moment, this is all I can say. I wish there was a better mechanism for the evacuation of the foreigners from Afghanistan. I wish there was a better system for it. But right now, it's truly saddening.
Right, absolutely. As you just said, that this seems to be a sign of things to come, and people in Afghanistan were warned, and there was a heads up given. Is this a sign of things to come? Will we be seeing more such attacks right before the deadline of August 31st?
This is a very concerning topic, because the thing is that in Afghanistan, since the situation is very fresh and new, we haven't gotten the chance to get used to this new change that we are seeing with our own eyes. So now these kind of threats are imminent now, and then it kind of tells us that since there is no proper system and we still haven't reached to formulate a new government in Afghanistan, so these kind of threats are even more imminent, and there is no way to stop these or to take care of it security-wise.
Right, Mr. Baz, we're also getting some information that the Pentagon briefing that was supposed to happen in a few moments from now has actually been delayed as of now. So do you see, or do you predict rather, a change in the US stand of perhaps not shifting the deadline for troop withdrawal?
At this moment, it's very hard to tell what's going to happen next, because nobody predicted this. But I mean, so far, the development that you have seen so far with your own eyes, nobody could predict it. And for the future, we have no idea what's going to happen now. Is it going to be still 31st August, or are they going to extend the deadline? Because from the Taliban, the message was very clear that 31st December is the time that they set for themselves, and after that, we're not going to give them any extension. So now we're not sure what's going to happen now.
Right, Mr. Baz, thank you so much for all your inputs and thank you for joining us on WION.
WION World is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news updates on the move.